Safety having raised, for instance, whether these persons are just going to be used as guinea pigs of a sort. Let's talk about safety. What kind of assurances can we get?
The data from the phase one and phase two, which are the very early trials, have shown that most of the adverse events for this vaccine were mild. Most of them were mild. A few moderate adverse events were also encountered. We are also covering every participant with insurance, and we, the team, the study teams, are going to monitor closely. I mean, from the time of vaccination to at about 20, the first 21 days, every day we are going to check in with participants. We are going to call them, bring them to the clinic if need be, to make sure that everything is okay with the participant. So that is the safety guards we put in for this trial.
Just a quick clarification though. We know that the Sputnik V vaccines have already been approved for use in Ghana. We are now hearing about the Sputnik Like. What exactly is the difference between the two? It appears Dr. Amu is unable to hear us at this point, but that's Dr. Albert Amu. She's the lead for the Sputnik like vaccine trials in Ghana, and she's been giving us some clarity on this.
A very important point to note when you ask the question about safety is the role of the Food and Drugs Authority. Mm-hmm. They will definitely have to be involved in the safety concerns that had come up. We can now speak to Professor John Ejapon. He's the chair of the FDA's Joint Committee, Joint COVID-19 Vaccine Safety Review, and joins us on the line right now. Prof, thank you for your time here on Newsnight.
Very much. Thank you for having me.
Great. I mean, so great.
I'm not Ejapon. I'm Ejapon, not Ejapon.
Okay, thank you very much. Quickly on this, on the vaccine. I mean, what's the FDA's role in ensuring its safe administration on likely, I guess, those who put themselves up for it?
Well, the basic role of the clinical trials committee of the FDA is to ensure, first of all, that there is compliance with all the standard protocols as far as clinical trials are concerned, which primarily is to ensure participant safety and to also ensure that people who participate in the trial go through the appropriate check-up clearance processes, the whole of informed consent, who know exactly what it is that they are going through. So the FDA assembles a group of experts to ensure that these things are done for clinical trials.
And still talking about vaccines, we heard about the arrival of or the detection of this, Indian variant. The suggestion is that the Sputnik V and the AstraZeneca vaccines aren't as potent against them. Is that what the case is as you monitor from where you sit from the COVID-19 vaccine committee?
You say that
I'm just asking about the challenge with the vaccines that we already have and their potency against the Indian variant we now detected.
Well, the vaccines that we have are pretty much all the variants that are being reported so far. In fact, just last week, the medical agent gave a very detailed report on the studies that they conducted on about 14,000 or so people. And for those who have received 2 doses of Pfizer and 2 doses of AstraZeneca, they were very, very well protected. I mean, in the case of Pfizer, it was about 96% prevention of hospitalization, and in the case of AstraZeneca, it was 82%. So we are talking of very, very effective vaccines being available. So I'm not sure what the source of ineffectiveness of the vaccine is coming from.
Prof, thank you very much for that. I mean, apologies for that line there, stressing that the vaccines that we have still potent against the variant. At least you better have it than not have it at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Still listen to News and on Joy 99.7 FM. When we return, we'll take you to the High Court that has ruled today that receiver of the defunct Unibank Ni Amamu Dodu can testify against founder Dr. Kwabena Dufo and 8 others standing trial with the collapse of financial institutions. Stay with us.
Hey, Charlie. My network is really killing me. I have to pay my uncle's workers via mobile money, but the charges alone, it's about 380 cedis. Charges alone just to send money? That's $10 of cement already, my guy. Listen, bro, you can save money on charges if you move to Vodafone Cash now. Vodafone Cash? But my network is... Hey, sending money on that your network, you pay. Sending money on your network to other networks, you pay. But guess what? Sending money on Vodafone Cash is free. Sending money on Vodafone Cash to all other networks is also absolutely free. No charges at all on Vodafone Cash. So tell me, what are you still doing on that your network? Massa, look sharp, then move to Vodafone Cash. Hey, make a change the SIM right now. Yeah, sending money on Vodafone Cash to all other networks is now absolutely free. Send unlimited amounts of money as many times as you like for free. Just dial *110# now to send money. Let me explain in here. I'm a mistake where I use cement for all your projects. That's why Gassem, with 50 years experience, want to develop various greater, what are your various jobs? What was super rapid 32.5 hours? Oh no, you're suitable for your dream house. As your screening or Daduchi, Nazi your plastering, oh man, a perfect finish. Gassem, what was super strong 42.5 hours? Or your best suited for slab, pavement blocks, Nasezicha blocks, Nankasa, watch a pump. For the biggest construction works like roads, bridges, on your high-rise buildings, contractor and use Gassem Extra 42.5 N. Missing it be there. Choose Gassem always.
In these uncertain times, stay safe and follow all the COVID-19 safety protocols.
Gassem, the nation builder.
At long last, all pre-tertiary private school owners have come together under one big umbrella as APSOC, Association of Private School Owners Ghana. With the aim of raising private school education, APSOC seeks to work with all institutions and organizations and stakeholders that work in the education sector to move pre-tertiary private education to even a higher pedestal. The association is being outdoored in an inauguration ceremony which is scheduled for Thursday, 24th of June, 2021. ISA Conference Theatre, University of Ghana. Time, 11 a.m. prompt. Special guest, Professor Peter Korte, Director, ISA. All stakeholders are cordially invited. Long live APSOC, long live private schools, long live Mother Ghana.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Thanks for staying with us here on Newsnight. I'll take you to the court now, where an Accra High Court has ruled that receiver of defunct Unibank, Ni Amanu Dodu, can testify in the criminal trial of the bank's founder, Dr. Kwabena Dufo, and other officials. Mr. Dodu was to be called as the state's first witness in the trial. Lawyers for Dr. Dufo, however, urged the court not to allow Mr. Dodu to testify. The court, however, ruled that Mr. Dodu was competent to do so. Court correspondent in the following report looks at the key arguments that came up, plus an update of the case involving 10 persons accused of plotting to overthrow government.
The basis for the objection is the role played by Mr. Dodu prior to being appointed as receiver. As a partner at auditing firm KPMG, the firm had audited the accounts of Unibank. This lawyers for Dr. Dufo say is worrying in that Mr. Dodu later took over the defunct bank when it went into receivership. They therefore urged the court not to allow him to testify. The state opposed the objection. Director of Public Prosecution Yvonne Atakro-Buobisa admitted Mr. Dodu was previously a partner at KPMG. She, however, argued his appointment as receiver was lawful. She urged the court to dismiss the objection since the witness met the requirement of qualifying to testify. Court of Appeal Judge Bright Mensah, who is hearing the matter as an additional High Court judge, dismissed the objection and upheld the DPP's arguments. He stated that Section 59 of the Evidence Act details who does not qualify to give testimony. None of the stated reasons barred Mr. Dodu from testifying. In the alleged coup plot case, the state called its second witness. The court had earlier heard the testimony of Colonel Michael Amponsa, who leads the Operational Defense Intelligence Wing of the Armed Forces. His seat was taken over on Tuesday by Chief of Staff of the General Headquarters of the Ghana Armed Forces, Major General Nicholas Peter Ando. He narrated to the court how individuals accused of plotting to overthrow government accused leaders of the two leading parties of massive corruption. Reference is said to have been made to two government agreements, one with Suba Info Solutions and another being a JIDA contract. The plotters are said to have claimed that since the MPP government took over, despite accusing the NDC of supervising these corrupt contracts, had done nothing to deal with them. This is said to have been an effort to convince the soldiers of the Ghana Armed Forces to join the cause, which they said was similar to the 1979 coup, which had Jerry Rawlings as a key figure. An assurance of a handsome reward is said to have been given to the participants. Assistant Commissioner of Police ACP Benjamin Agojo, Senior Military Officer Colonel Samokojo Gamili, and 8 others are facing charges including high treason. Their lawyers are set to cross-examine the state's second witness.
That's court correspondent Joseph Akable. There was another happening in court today, this time in Secondary.
Yeah, and that court there has ordered the Member of Parliament for Jomoro, Dorcas Afu Toffee, to produce evidence of renounced Ivorian citizenship at the court registry within 10 days. It follows a petition filed by Joshua Amwakofi, challenging the eligibility of the MP, arguing she is unfit to occupy the office as a people's representative for Jomoro in the Western region. Now, we've been digging into that case, and my colleague Ernest Menu is here with details of this. What else do we know?
Well, Evans, we know that the petitioner had argued that the defendant, that's Dorcas Afo Tote, had at the time of filing her nomination to contest the 2020 parliamentary election, failed to renounce her citizenship to Ivory Coast. Now, upon several attempts by lawyers of the petitioner to get the defendant availed documentation that proves otherwise, the court intervention is expected to finally conclude on this particular issue. And the orders of the court is compelling in the sense that the failure to satisfy this may actually account for an undesired consequence on the part of the MP, and she could possibly, this could be grounds for her removal as MP for Jomro.
Meanwhile, we understand also that the Regional Communications Director of the NDC, Kek Mensah, has been speaking to the media, expressing disquiet about the process today.
Exactly. For them, they say that they do not understand why the court allowed for such discoveries when we had seen a precedent at the Supreme Court with the 2020 presidential election petition.
Yes, we are disappointed because we know that the Supreme Court recently said that they were not granting discoveries. So it is a surprise to us that the lower court has granted discoveries.
Yeah, just 6 months ago. Less than a year.
I don't know about any Brakaka Yentasi because in that the Supreme Court can or the lesser court, you know, was be from Nawafa, Abakosam. But the Supreme Court can and more discoveries. Na lower court or high court can one discoveries. And I got umbrella. Also, maybe I interpret Nana, but man, area court proceedings in there. You be meet legal team of the party, and the party will communicate to Obibiala the next line of action.
So that's Kek there, Kek Mensah. He is the Regional Communications Director of the NDC, but this is a story we're definitely following up on. The countdown is on, 10 days for Dorcas Afutofe, MP for Jomoro, to submit those documents to the court. It's time for business. George,
I like the saying.
Toffee.
Well, coming up in business, World Bank fears Ghana could fall into a debt distress classification after completion of ongoing debt sustainability analysis, and banks hint of making significant progress in meeting the Inspector General of Police deadline of having all their vehicles, carton of currencies fortified. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials, and Allianz Live. Let's now settle for the details. The World Bank is worried that Ghana could fall into a debt distress classification after it completes work on the country's ability to meet its debt obligations. The country is now up for review after it was classified as high risk of debt distress by the World Bank and the IMF in 1999. Now there are fears that with the country's rising debt stock, Ghana may be a few steps away from this new classification. Pierre Laporte is World Bank Country Director.
Actually, there's one underway now. It will come out very soon. The bank and the IMF are just finalizing the assumptions and the last picking up the data.
Looking good for us?
No, but it will not say very much different from what it is now. I mean, the situation is not going to be much worse, and we all know now. So,
growth projections optimistic?
Yeah, we've seen Ghana seem to be growing faster than the rest of the region and faster than predicted. We're predicting about 4.5% as early as this year and over the medium term.
World Bank Country Director Pierre Laporte. Now, banks say they have made significant progress towards meeting the police deadline of having all its vehicles for carton currencies fortified. The Inspector General of Police earlier this month warned that banks risk losing their escort if they fail to have all their vehicles for carton of currencies fortified by the end of this month. Now, this follows the recent attacks on bullion vans. Some of the banks had earlier expressed reservations about this move, but Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Bankers, John Ewua, says they have made some initial agreement towards meeting all the concerns raised by the Ghana Police Service.
The work is underway. As an industry, we are putting our efforts together as one unit. Of course, we have several of the soft body vans in the system, and we also have a few of the armored bullion vans. What in the interim operationally we will do is to make use of what is available as we go through the processes of procurement to augment the numbers.
Basically, you're dealing with what is in, and also there was even talk that we can even, why don't you fall on the Bank of Ghana and some other institutions that may have these things in place to rent-wise as well?
Yeah, all the options are on the table, but as I said, discussions are, happening in the background.
So I think this has put quite a stress on the industry, but you are working hard towards to meet this deadline.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you are the 2023 timeline and you rolled back to 2021 and we're given quite a short window to comply, then it's stress in the environment. But that is what you are paid to do. So work is currently ongoing to ensure that the cash operations angle of our business does not, grind to a halt.
John Ewua is Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Bankers. Now, oil exploration firm Cosmos Energy has reopened its business support program aimed at assisting small businesses as part of its corporate social responsibility. The Cosmos Innovative Challenge program over the years has assisted several small businesses to grow their enterprises. This year's program, dubbed AgriChat Challenge Pro, has started receiving applications and is expected to fund business ideas with potential of transforming the sector over the next 5 years. Director of the Cosmos Innovation Center program, Benjamin Jankesi, has been explaining to Joy Business the focus of this year's program.
It is about how you approach agriculture. Agriculture is science and it is business. And if you understand it as a science and a business, and you approach it with a science mindset and a business mindset, and you put all the right strategies in place, and you, again, I always say, you build your skills in that sector, you would find the right tools to be rich in this space. So I'll tell every young person who would be listening to me today that agriculture has a potential to make you money, it has potential to also develop our country, has the potential to reduce unemployment.
And Director of the Cosmos Innovation Center program, Benjamin Jankesi. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. And if you are a shareholder of Enterprise Group, at the end of trading today, the value of each share held is up by a peso. So it's now worth 1 Ghana cedis, 76 pesos. For shareholders of ETI, you lost a peso, and it's now worth 5 pesos. Not so good for shareholders of ETI on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Back to you.
Thank you very much, George. Now let's head to the Northeast region because President Akufo-Addo is assuring the people of Northern Ghana of his government's commitment against the threats of terrorism and activities of armed robbery and banditry. Speaking to the overlord of Mamprugu, Na Bohagu Abdullahi Mahami Shiriga at his palace in Nalarugu, he said government had selected Nalarugu as one of the 15 forward operating bases for the military in order to defend the country's sovereignty and provide first-line defense against terrorism.
As far as the tracts of land for the military and their barracks are concerned, Nalerigu is one of the 15 forward operating bases that have been chosen by the military to defend our sovereignty and to provide the first line of defense against the terrorist outrages. So I'm going to launch the construction of these forward operating bases, I believe, in the next month in July. And subsequent to that, you will see very soon activity on the ground for the establishment of the military barracks here in Nalerigu.
Well, President Akufo-Addo further urged the regional coordinating councils as well as the regional security councils of the Northeast and Savannah regions to find solutions to the land dispute that has threatened the security of both regions for a long time.
I'm happy that he also brought up the issue of the land dispute between the Savannah region and the Northeast regions. It's important that an amicable solution is found to this as soon as possible. We know, unfortunately, in our country, that many of the security challenges that we have in Ghana are related to chieftaincy and land disputes. So as quickly as possible, the regional coordinating councils and the regional security councils of the two regions all together to get together with the support of the landowners, that is the chief, to find an amicable settlement and a permanent demarcation of the boundaries between the two peoples of the Northeast region and the Savannah region.
And that's the President Akufo-Addo.
Off to Parliament now, where the minority is disputing claims by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta that the NPP government has paid $937 million to independent power producers over the last 4 years as excess capacity energy charges. The NPP had accused the previous NDC government of signing too many energy contracts in 2016, leading to excess energy. Ms. Ofori-Atta told legislators on Thursday that between 2017 and 2020, $347.2 million was paid to AXA Energy, Car Power Ship, and has also paid $359 million to Send Power, and they were also paid $231.3 million. So that's the breakdown for AXA Energy, Car Power Ship, and then Send Power.
The minority MP, Hassan Suhini, who filed the question, says the figure can't be accurate. He has today filed an urgent question, summoning the Energy Minister over the issue.
It is important that we establish if we are actually paying for excess capacity or not. Information I have, which I do not doubt, is that these companies that were listed have actually received payment from Government of Ghana for power generated and utilized. And so it is strange.
As in the $937 million.
As in the $937 million. Yes, $1 million. So it is strange for me that the finance minister puts the whole sum as being, amount expended for power that we did not utilize.
So you are disputing the figure? Do you get the sense it's probably far less or probably more than the $937 million?
What is important for now is for perhaps government to tell us why over the years they have always created the impression that they are paying $500 million every year for excess capacity charges, only for them to reveal in Parliament that in the last 4 years they have paid less than $1 billion.
Okay. Ghanaians would also be interested in how much genuinely we are spending on that, which is why I'm proving that bit. Yeah. Do you get the sense it's probably more or less than the $937 million with the information you're getting that the 937 is probably the figure that was paid to them for power that was generated?
The sense I am getting is that government is not paying anything for excess capacity charges. And it is high time they told us the truth. Because how can you be in one breath complaining about excess capacity and in another breath signing on new contracts, generation contracts? You are signing on new companies that are supposed to, invest in generation capacity. You complained about excess gas, yes, you are signing on new gas contracts. You complained about excess energy, yet you are giving companies the go-ahead to produce, more power. So I am saying my information is that they simply may have not been paying for any excess capacity charges. But you see, the issue with allowing this to fester is that it creates an opportunity for books to be cooked. So we must establish if indeed government has been paying and how much they have been paying and which companies they have been paying to.
So that people would engage in what? Underhand dealings and benefit from the payment?
Probably. It is possible. If you do not challenge these things, if they go unchallenged, people can take advantage of the fact that you have accepted that this figure is what is, allocated to a non-existent, charge. And who knows where it will end up? Maybe offshore banks or offshore accounts.
Well, let's stay in Parliament because the Health Minister, Kweku Agyeman-Manu, says he has commissioned a special investigation into circumstances under which an ambulance was used to cart cement.
Now, he says he's still awaiting the report of the committee so he can take action to safeguard the ambulances. He's been responding to questions on the floor of Parliament.
I am very much aware, and some of my colleagues should be aware, especially the ranking member, that the ambulance service has issued a statement on that incident. The monitors and the type of mechanism we have couldn't detect it because that particular ambulance was not in operation. It had been parked in the mechanic's workshop for service. And then the mechanic's person, a driver in the workshop, took the ambulance without the authority of the service. So when the issue came up, the ambulance service issued a statement on this matter, and this was adequately published in the media. I have asked for further investigations, and I'm still waiting for a report on that, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to ask Mr. Minister whether or not these vehicles have specialized mechanics that take care of them, because I've seen these vehicles one or two times. I've seen these vehicles one or two times being taken to ordinary mechanics. These are specialized vehicles that are medically put together to take care of people. And so I want to ask the minister whether there are specialized mechanics that take care of these vehicles because of its nature medically, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Yes, Minister. Mr. Speaker, the ambulance service has its mode of operations, including servicing the vehicles. This particular ambulance was one of the 307, and they have signed the service agreement with the supplier for a number of months before the ambulance service could take over the entire service of these ambulances. At the time these incidents occurred, we were in that service agreement, and therefore it was the supplier who should have repaired the vehicle. So the supplier's workshop, where this ambulance was actually placed, which caused this particular incident. At the time, it wasn't even in the hands of the ambulance service. We are using workshops, some belonging to Ghana Health Service, some belonging to ambulance service itself. And we also appoint in certain areas where we don't have our own workshops, accredited workshops to service these vehicles. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So that's the Health Minister, Kweku Agyeman-Manu. Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins us via Zoom. So, Joseph, he's been announcing measures to be rolled out to protect ambulances, including a setting up of a central monitoring center. Let's talk a bit more about it.
He says those structures are things that they had rolled out even some time ago in order to then ensure that the ambulance services actually operate as effectively as possible. He talked about how there are monitoring and tracking devices on some of the vehicles. There are some tablets in it that ensures that someone from a central position is keeping track. He makes the point that at the level of the district and also the regional health directorate, they have the necessary information on these ambulances And those are some of the measures that they brought out. Although a number of the MPs, particularly on the minority side, who kept probing the issue, indicated that they were not fully satisfied with some of these responses. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had the situation of one of the said ambulances being used to then cut cement, which became a controversial issue some weeks back.
So he's only been speaking to the question about that issue regarding that ambulance cutting cement, or has he been responding to other issues regarding health?
It's specifically a question that sought to get some specific responses from him on what exactly is being done when it comes to ensuring that the ambulance service works effectively and that there is a very stringent monitoring mechanism in terms of how the ambulance service operates. Even the specific question about the ambulance being used to cut cement was a supplementary question that came up when they were discussing the larger issue of what is being done to ensure an effective monitoring system as far as the ambulance service is concerned.
And Joseph, tomorrow there are some key things to watch in Parliament. Particularly, there is one question, if I'm not mistaken, to the National Security Minister about DSP Azugu's continued presence at the National Security Secretariat. Plus, there's also the outstanding issue about the Finance Minister coming to respond to a question on the expenditure with respect to hiring of that luxurious private jet.
On the question having to do with the luxurious private jet, we're still waiting for confirmation on when exactly the Finance Minister will come respond to questions on that. But the Deputy Majority Leader, Alexander Penyumakins, had insisted that definitely in the course of this week, we can expect a response to that. The issue having to do with DCOP Ayensua Parado retired, who was the Ashanti Regional Security Liaison Officer, who was allegedly hounded out of office, allegedly assaulted, and again, allegedly moved out of the office by NPP vigilante groups. There's a question from the MP for South Dai, Roxin Dafiamefo, which the Minister for National Security is responding to tomorrow. And to quote that question specifically, it says to ask the Minister for National Security the circumstances under which DCOP Opariado was assaulted in his office in Kumasi. So we're expecting that particular question to be responded to tomorrow, Wednesday. And then on Thursday, there is a separate question that's actually directed at the Minister for Interior, asking him why DSP Azugu remains at post at the Ministry of National Security as head of the SWAT team, even after the Short Commission recommended that that his secondment to that ministry be revoked. The response to that is also expected on Thursday, even as the House sits to deal with these specific security matters.
Thank you very much, Joseph.
Now, studies conducted by the Center for Social Environmental Research at the University of Ghana says hopelessness is pushing a lot of teenagers in the country to contemplate suicide.
And I know you have a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
and so this must be of great concern to you. Now, the development is said to be more worrying in the senior high and tertiary schools. We have more on this disturbing issue shortly, but closely related to that is a study published by the Child Rights International, which also revealed that about 55% of children in Ghana believe that the future is bleak and are planning to leave the country by 2040, citing jobs, education, and better standards of living elsewhere as a reason.
Now, the survey focused on expectations of some 11,288 children between the ages of 12 and 17 in all the 16 regions of Ghana. Elton Brobe has more of that.
The research conducted from June 2020 to April 2021 targeted children between the ages of 12 to 17 and aimed at providing evidence on the values and issues of concern to children and further provide them with the needed opportunity to have their voices heard on key issues that affected them. The findings are that Ghana through the lenses of children present and the next 20 years. The research was to gauge and explore children's life experiences on issues affecting them now and how the country might be in the next 20 years. The findings says children are worried about getting jobs in the future, with majority of them predicting that unemployment would make it harder for some citizens to make ends meet than they did now. 71% of the respondents revealed they would focus their attention on solving the unemployment problem in the country by creating jobs if they became leaders in the future. The findings showed that 35% of the respondents said acquiring technical or vocational skills through technical vocational education and training TVET will be essential for them to be employable in the next 20 years. But more staggering is the finding that 55% of the children said they wished to migrate definitely, whilst 11% said they would either stay in the country or leave eventually, even though a majority of them said they were proud to be Ghanaians.
Now we can hear from the Executive Director of Child's Rights International, Bright Appiah, who presented the report. And according to him, the finding will provide government the opportunity to fix the concerns of these children.
It's a bit surprising, and then also it shows the thinking pattern of our children, and then also the desire to see change. Because clearly, though they have stated that they want to leave the country, about 55% of them, their national pride, being Ghanaians, is almost about 93% of them says that they are proud to be Ghanaian, and then listed the reasons why they feel that they want to leave the country. So it is an expression of their feeling and the strong will that when things are done right, every Ghanaian child will be glad and happy to stay in Ghana and work and contribute to the development of these countries.
The push factors, according to them, are jobs, education, and better living standards. Yeah. Does this in any way suggest that past and present leaders have failed them?
Yeah, well, if you look at what they are saying, clearly it's either children are not certain as to what the state is providing for them, or it is not there at all, or we have failed them. So these are things that comes to mind. So it borders on the kind of system that we put in place to let children feel part of the whole governance process. It is also borders on whether or not children are having the kind of life that we're supposed to give them. And if they are not getting these two things, then we still have failed them one way or the other.
Well, all these concerns has left many of these children depressed and hopeless, and that's according to the Center for Social and Environmental Studies at the University of Ghana. Now, speaking at the launch of the Child Rights International Survey report, Head of Psychology Department of the University of Ghana, Professor Joseph Safo, says the situation is disturbing and requires attention.
You will be a bit surprised and worried that the same children, more than 50%, don't have a sense of hope in the next 20 years in securing a job. Africa has one of the youngest populations on earth, and in fact it is. West Africans are one of the most mobile groups of persons on earth. This report clearly tells us that certain things are pushing our kids to the brink of a potential desperation, a culture of desperation. Last year, my Center for Suicide and Violence Research, discovered a very disturbing trend. 3 out of 10 junior high students in Ghana have attempted to kill themselves in the past 12 months. 2 out of 10. The first is junior high, the second is senior high. When you go to the university, it's about 3 out of 10. Now, this group of kids we're talking about, majority of them are just within the range that Bright and his group, Child Rights, have studied. What is happening to us?
Well, and that's survey report findings, and it's just rather disturbing. But we're hearing from the Center for Social and Environmental Studies at the University of Ghana, there, Professor Joseph Safo. And that's how we wrap up tonight's edition of Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM, paving way to the lads, you call them.
Yeah, the lads.
They say Abifao, they are.
Yes. The lads are taking over.
I enjoyed that big game.
In England and
Czech.
And the Czech Republic. Want to stay tuned for that. My name is Mensah.
I am Emefa Apawu.
Hi, Gary L. Smith here, and thank you, lad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And Lass. Lad and Lass.
Right. What ladders? Welcome to our coverage of Euro 2020. Gary L. Smith here, and we'll be ushering you just about 6 minutes into the game.